Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where we are currently preparing for our braking burn over Elu, which we can't really see Elu at this point. It should be like directly down from us, but we can't see it. So we're going to warp forward a little bit until we are at the correct position. Elu's gravity is of course extremely low. No doubt about that. We're still about a day away, and that's Elu of course right there. Perfect. So in we come here, and wow, that is some dramatic lighting in these ravines. Okay, exciting. Well, we're going to head on forward here. We've got about another 2 minutes. And I did adjust our braking burn maneuver a little bit. Now our maneuvers aren't broken either, so there's that. So that is, of course, a good thing. And we've got about 3, 2, 1, mark. Excellent. Let's just bring ourselves down into an orbit. And a very specific orbit at that. We're angling for a periapsis of like 15-ish kilometers here, so that is our target burn point. Wonderful. And orbital velocity here is going to be quite slow, isn't it? It indeed is. It's going to be only a couple hundred meters per second. I like it. So that is solid. I wonder what our surface velocity is. I have no idea if we're retrograde or not, and I don't really care. So we're just bringing that periapsis on down. We are officially in orbit now. And the apoapsis is beginning to fall. Ooh, okay, that started to fall very quickly. This'll do. So that's around 14 kilometers on the periapsis. That's fine. Surface velocity, 600 meters per second. That likely means that we are, in fact, retrograde, I think. But it's only about a 70 meter per second differential, and I don't care. That is completely and totally fine. So at this point, what I want to do is I want to hop into surface retrograde, and we just kind of want to warp until such a time as we are not on the dark side here. So let's just head on forward here. And we can see that retrograde is around the 90-degree marker. So yeah, we are indeed in a retrograde orbit. That's okay. I don't care. Oh, we can actually run our radiation experiment. May as well. No reason not to. And we'll just continue to warp on over until we are on the day side. That experiment has finished. That looks good. And we're going to be looking for an area that looks reasonably flat, not like this. We don't want to land here, but maybe more like here. Okay. We're just taking in the very dark sights right now. Okay, let's bring this around. I want to be on ground altitude, not sea level altitude. Okay, we went down to 4x warp for safety just because of the current altitude. Oh, we're starting to pass the Terminator, I see. This is starting to pick up a little bit of light, but from what source? How can this area have sunlight at this point? That's my question. Yeah, there's the sun. Now this section should have light, but whatever. Okay, let's get ourselves positioned at this point back on the retrograde marker. We're going to want to go a fair bit past the Terminator here, for sure. I'm just keeping an eye on our ground altitude, but this should be quite safe. In theory. In theory. And we're probably going to angle to land maybe somewhere around here. We don't really want to land in these cracks, right? That would not be great. And if we look at the actual shape of the cracks and the lighting source, this would probably be the best place. So warping to here would be a thing that we could do. It's going to take a little while to warp there from here, but we should definitely get started on that. That's going to be a 4x warp. Okay. So we're still about 7 minutes to the periapsis here. And we're going to be quite low to the ground. And that's good. That's exactly what we want here. So we're just going to continue to cruise on forward here. And we're looking for a relatively flat area. But yeah, we don't want to land in these cracks. That is not at all flat. That's the opposite of flat. Cool. And we're going to be landing on our engines, so that's a whole thing. We're about 6 kilometers off of the ground right now. So, you know, that's mildly exciting. We're very, very low, that's for sure. Okay. So coming around over here, we could go for a landing here, but I think that we are better off to target out over this direction. I really do. So that pretty much means that we would go about here. And I'm just using this mostly as timing and to estimate what this would end up looking like. Okay. Yeah, we would have the timing to pull that off. So it'd be something along the lines of that. A purely retrograde burn, and then this would be a vertical landing portion. So in theory, that looks completely and totally fine. Let's just align ourselves to that point. Almost there. Excellent. And now we're going to warp forward to this burn. But the best we can do here is 4x warp. 4x warp is not very fast, and it's going to take us a while to get there. So I'm going to cut this portion out, and we will be back when we arrive at this burn point, or, you know, reasonably close to it. See you guys in just a moment. Okay, here we are with our warp finished. We've got about 20 seconds until this burn here, and we're just getting some final angling finished up. The real question here, though, is, well, I'm going to... No, I think this burn is fine for now. We do want to get rid of our horizontal speed here, and we're basically just going to burn retrograde, but lock our position, and the retrograde marker will move this direction on us. So we're going to burn in 6, 5... 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, we are now officially out of orbit, and we are working on deceleration. So we're going to be watching this move. The position of the retrograde marker is what's actually going to tell us that we're in the right point. So that is fine. Okay, it is definitely moving now. It is a little overshooty over this way. Okay, that's approximately correct. It's not perfect, but we're going to move this on over to the retrograde marker, and we'll fine-tune it from up here. Okay, just moving it up over that way a little bit. It's not perfect again. We have a lot of vertical speed right now, and it looks like we're going to be coming down right about here or so. We'll see what that looks like in terms of flatness. Okay, let's see what a deceleration looks like. Okay, we've got pretty good thrust to weight, no doubt about that. A gentle deceleration is about 10% thrust. Cool. We'll start a deceleration burn at about 2 kilometers and see how that feels. I think that'll be too high. Okay, 2.3, 2.2, 2.1, and commencing burn. That's definitely too high. Let's just do a more gentle deceleration burn here and bring ourselves down to... we need more gentle. 20 meters per second is kind of slow, to be honest. I believe that's our shadow there. Okay, this is accelerating. I'm going to cut the throttle for now. We're still a kilometer up here. Okay. So now we're under a kilometer up. I'm going to start a gentle deceleration. 13% thrust seems reasonably okay. 800 meters up. 650. Cutting the throttle a little bit. We are now about 500 meters up. Continuing to decelerate. Very gentle on the deceleration, though. 400 meters up. We probably want to drop this down a little further, maybe around 7% thrust. Looking a little bit better here. I'm just trying to gauge how flat this terrain might be. I think it's reasonably flat. 7 meters per second and 220 meters up. Okay. We're just continuing to bring this guy on down. And I'm going to put this into up at this point. Okay, we're going to need to decelerate a little bit more pretty soon. I'm going to put this at about 9, actually like 8% thrust. That's a little too much thrust, to be honest. Let's let this accelerate a bit. Okay. Back up to around 7 or 8% thrust, kicking up regolith. I believe we bounced. Okay, let's get this under control. We should be fine here. We are on the ground, for some definition of ground, but here we are. Perfect. Okay, let's just get this under control. Can we just stop SASing for the moment? That would be great. I think we'll be okay here. We may need to move fuel down. Let's see here. In here, Resource Manager. We could move fuel down. That would help matters for sure. But I think we're stable here as it is. But we may as well. So this is, of course, going to be, as usual, out, out, in. Out, out, in. And then this will be out, out, in. And then out, out, in. Yes. So we'll get that going. And we'll just move all of our fuel downward to lower our center of gravity. But we're already stable. So that seems fantastic. Let's run our research here. And we can see our electric charge is dropping due to our radiation study. Of course, we don't have much power flow here from the sun. Stellar exposure, 100%. Energy flow, 0.03 electric charge per second. This is why we have the RTGs. They've got another 10 years on them, so we should be absolutely fine on that front. Let's warp forward for a little bit here until we finish up our radiation survey. Okay, the radiation survey is done. And at this point, I'm going to have Bill EVA. And Bill is going to head on down to the ground. I mean, technically this counts as the ground, so we may as well. He's currently running his surface survey, and we could run the crew observation also. I'm going to do it on the off chance that we don't already have it, but we already have it. So we're going to run this. This is already a thing, but I do it anyway just to make absolutely sure. 60.9 meters per second orbital velocity. So that's interesting because that indicates that that is what the rotational velocity here is. So that's the extra DV that we had to spend because we came in from the other side. It really doesn't matter. Okay, so we can hop back in. We've got all the science that we need here. To be honest, we're done with Elu. There's nothing else we need to do here. We technically didn't need to land here to begin with, but we wanted to go above and beyond. So that's fine. We can put ourselves into a prograde orbit at this point, and there's absolutely nothing preventing it. Like, we can just go. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's get out of here. So we're just going to flip this on over to a prograde orbit here. Out over this direction. SAS should probably be on. It's currently off. And let's do that. Okay. So we are currently at an apoapsis of about 22 kilometers. That's fine. I want to get ourselves purely horizontal speed here, get ourselves up to orbital velocity, which we're just about at. And we'll put ourselves at an apoapsis of, I don't know, like 100 kilometers or so. That'll be fine. Cool. Looks good. We're not quite at orbital velocity, but we're very, very close. So once we arrive at the apoapsis, we are going to create a maneuver plan, and we're just going to circularize that on up. That's fine. And of course, we're definitely at a bit of a jaunty angle. We're fairly equatorial on Elu, but Elu has a kind of wacky shift to it. So that is understandable. We'll lock to this maneuver node, but the maneuver node isn't going to be active for a while yet. And we've got lots and lots of delta V to bring ourselves back. Excellent. So 68 meters per second. That is one short of me being contractually obligated to say nice, but I'll do it anyway. Okay. So we're going to jump on forward here as soon as we can. 68 meters per second is very little in order to get into orbit here. I mean, in total, we already knew that it was like 650 meters per second when we're like right over the surface of the planet. So that's wonderful. We are, of course, too low to warp at appreciable speed at this point, but that will change fairly soon. There we go. Fantastic. Now we can warp at a reasonable speed. Okay, so we are just about to the apoapsis here, and we're going to commence our burn in about 20 seconds. That's fine. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And that is an orbit. It's not a very circular one, but it'll do. So that is fine. So at this point, we want to go towards the sun. We're in a prograde orbit, so we should go here, and we should burn this direction to have prograde bring us into the inner solar system, like so. We're going to pull this back to about the orbit of Dress. That'll be fine. Dress is a great midway point for these sorts of staging orbits, and we'll position for that burn, which will be in about 52 minutes. And this is only 610 meters per second to pull us back to the orbit of Dress. Now, we're going to have to do a braking burn when we get there, and an inclination change. It's going to be a pretty decent amount of delta V for both of those maneuvers. Well, maybe not the inclination change. That might not be too bad. But the braking burn, that'll absolutely be a big deal. Okay, let's warp ourselves on around. And we're going to commence this burn in 30 seconds here. 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. And off we go. Goodbye, Elu. We will not be coming back to you, but it is good to have landed on you. So 15 seconds left in this burn, and we've got lots of delta V left in our side tanks, and crazy amounts of delta V left in our center tank. This is massively overkill for going to Elu. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. I'm gonna go maybe just a smidge further here. Okay, we're overshooting now. This'll be fine. Excellent. So now, of course, we need to exit the sphere of influence of Elu. So that means that we need to go here. It's going to be in about 7 days, and we'll just head on out. Goodbye, Elu. And we are now here. So what does that get us? Well, it gets us that much closer to Kerbal, of course, and we need to set Kerbal as our target. So we're going to head on in here, set target as Kerbal. And now we need to do probably an inclination change, 5.5 degrees. That's not so bad. And in this big of an orbit, it should be relatively low DV, in theory. Is this the correct direction? Well, is this the correct direction? Yes. Cool. Yeah, that's not too bad on the DV. It's not amazing, but it's not too bad. Now, if we were really clever, we would have launched directly into the correct inclination for Kerbal from Elu, but, you know, that's complicated. 300 DV for this inclination change, really not so bad. We don't mind that. So, let's head on in. 5.5 degree inclination change. That'll be in 159 days, although that's probably not a year away, is it? I mean, orbital velocity is really slow this high up. Surely that's not over a year away. Let's find out. No, this is not. This is the correct amount of time. Okay. Fantastic. So we're not going to be running into Elu. That's perfect. And what do we have now? Well, we've got about 4 hours until this burn. Continue to warp, please. Okay, 3 minutes is a little bit more like it. 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 10 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. So this will be about a 12-second burn. Just getting our inclination nice and aligned. Perfect. This looks about right. 0.1? It's close enough. We'll tune it as we head in. So, next we're going to want to do a retrograde burn, perhaps somewhere around here. I want to see if we can actually be aligned with Kerbal right now. I don't think this is going to work, to be clear. But what is it going to look like when we get here? That is interesting, to be sure. So it would be up over this way. We would need a little bit more retrograde because we're in an elliptical orbit right now. So we're going to have to tune this as we move it. That's a Duna encounter. What? Okay. I don't want a Duna encounter necessarily. I'm wondering about Kerbal here. We need a little more retrograde. So what's this timing looking like here? Okay, we'll need to move it out this direction if I can actually grab this. And then we'll have to toss in a little bit more retrograde in order to get that there. Okay, it's moving out over here. So if we were at the periapsis and we were to go for it here, what would this look like? This would be probably our best bet in terms of, like, fuel. The timing isn't perfect, but we can make this work. Around here or so. And then we can dial that in. So, this would be the encounter here, which is not amazing, but we can definitely get it a little closer. And I would look to have the timings be a little bit better here if we were lower on Delta V, but we have so much DV that I really don't care about making this super efficient. It is fine. We're just going to bring this on in. We're going to have to make an inclination adjustment as well, of course, which is not surprising. And we're not going to nail this, but I just want to get it reasonably close. That's 127 kilometers. That's an impact trajectory. So we'll just dial that back, bring it in around like this, 248 kilometers. 50 kilometers. I mean, that would work. That would even be aero capture. If we nailed that, which I don't think we're going to. So this will be an okay target for right now, but that's not going to be our final orbital position. I'm 99% certain on that. We're going to have to tune it. So that's okay. This burn is going to be in a while. No doubt about that. We're going to have to warp for quite a long time here. So let's begin this warp, and we'll see how long that warp ends up taking. It's going to be several years. For sure. Specifically, quite a large number of years. This trip will be a lengthy one. We are currently approximately reaching the halfway point on this warp. Yeah, that's a long time. Bill, Valentina, Tim C, and Bob are going to be slightly more aged when they arrive. Luckily, Kerbals don't age, so this is all fine. They also don't mind just sitting in a space capsule for, you know, a dozen years. That's wonderful. We're very happy about that. So we've got about 4 hours until this burn now. And now we've got about 2 minutes. So let's warp forward a little bit. 1 minute. 20 seconds, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Now, this is going to be a 2,500 meter per second burn, and I don't expect that I'm going to nail this. So, let's just bring this on in over here. To be clear, I think that I would nail this in KSP1 because of the different information that the maneuver system gives you. It gives you the raw delta V that you need to go, and that allows you to dial it in a lot more effectively than the KSP2 system here does, with this just like percentage-based diagram. It doesn't actually give you useful information other than what percentage of the burn have we completed. And let's be honest, KSP1 did that too because it had the sidebar. So that's just kind of superior. So we're not going to nail this. We'll have to do a corrective burn, but I'm not too concerned about that. We've got about a minute left on this burn. Let's warp through that a little bit faster. 40 seconds, 30, 20, and about 10 seconds left on this burn. Watching our apoapsis here move towards this apoapsis. That might actually be our best indicator of when to stop this burn. About there? I mean, kinda. But we're going to need to flip around to prograde here. I'm going to get rid of this maneuver marker. We have this at this point. So we have an encounter, and we just need to dial that in. So as we're turning, I'm going to turn off these engines, as we have in the past. This is going to be very, very sensitive, and we're going to thrust limit this down to 1% thrust, as before. Okay, as we come around to prograde, we're going to need to dial this in just a bit. We're a little further away from Kerbal than I want to be at this moment. Okay, let's bring this guy on in. This is not moving as fast as I expected it to be honest. Whoa, hang on. That suddenly moved very, very fast indeed. I warped us up to 3, and it just exploded in how fast it was moving. So, let's bring it back to retrograde, and I guess we'll have to be a little bit more cautious. I feel like that wasn't the normal, like the same amount of thrust to weight. I feel like warping actually changed our thrust to weight there. I only warped it up to 4x. So, you know, that's kind of wild. But we'll bring this back. So we're back over to retrograde now. I am going to bump this up to about 5% thrust because that wasn't moving as rapidly as I expected it to. So we'll make it move about 5 times faster. And we need to get our camera re-centered on Kerbal here. There we go. We need to come in over this direction. Please focus on Kerbal. Thank you. And we're going to commence a retrograde burn here until we see our encounter come back. That moved a lot when we warped it. It must have ignored the thrust limiter when we warped. That's the only thing I can imagine, is that it ignored the thrust limiter. Okay, well, we can pin this open and keep an eye on that distance from target. It's going to take a while at this speed. I don't feel like we can warp it either because of what just happened. Okay, well, we should be going back into the sphere of influence relatively soon, which will definitely help matters. Let's see what a 2x warp does here. Whoa, okay, yeah, that is ignoring the thrust limit. No doubt about it. Okay, so coming in here, we have no encounter right now because it went too far the other way. Okay, so that is definitely 100% that is ignoring the thrust limiter. We now need to pull it around to prograde, and we know that we cannot warp while thrust limited. That's weird. But okay, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're heading back to Kerbal. No doubt about it. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy McGar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Tommy, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.